Guys, it's a bit of a miserable weather situation here in Johannesburg at the moment. There's no filming outdoors or anything like that at the moment. But I still have a story that I really want to share with you guys. And today's episode is something that has actually been on the Patreon for a couple months now, which has shared some insights of a point on a trip where, I just gave a bit of insight onto what was going on in my mind and where we were at the time on our trip, right at the end of a 35-day expedition. And it was a hell of a lot of fun, but it was still a little bit difficult. Today's episode is sponsored by Surfshark. They have an amazing deal going now for Black Friday, 85% off and 3 additional months on a 2-year subscription. It is a massive saving. I use Surfshark every single day, whether it is for private browsing, for being able to secure your network when you're using public Wi-Fi, making sure that people don't have access to your private information, your passwords, your logins, all of that stuff, for social media, banking, all of that. It also helps mitigate the amount of information, phishing and tracking, everything that's going on online. Using things like a VPN can help protect you from all of that, plus so much more. Help protect you from malware and the likes of that type of stuff. Personally, I use it for a variety of different things, being able to watch different shows on streaming platforms and stuff like that from different countries is one of the other benefits as well. So it is something that I think is very, very valuable and you can use on multiple devices, so you get great value for money out of it, and I highly recommend getting it. Anyways, you can head to the link below or check out with the code ROAM to get 85% off and 3 months for free on a 2-year subscription. Anyways, let's get to the show. So I think I found my limit. We've been away since the 18th of March. 18th of March. It's now the 17th of April. We have camped most of the evenings. So in 4 nights out of a month, we've been in our tent and we have been camping. And it hasn't been that bad. But I think I've definitely found my kind of limit for this vehicle setup, for how long it's mentally comfortable to travel for. Like with the amount of space that we have, with the way I can work with or not work, things like that. So as this is a fantastic holiday setup, I don't think you can beat it. Outdoors, in the sun, under the shade, in the rain, in the wind. We've been through absolutely everything, and it's held up beautifully. And the water system, the battery system, the solar, all of that stuff has sustained us absolutely perfectly this entire time. Bar one thing, I still cannot work while I travel. It's very difficult. When Andy and I traveled the last time, we had the little caravan and we traveled for about 24 days. And by the time we were done with that trip, we were ready to go home. But then we were staying in ground tents when we weren't in the caravan. So it is a bit more taxing on you. I mean, I look at Andy. Andy slept in his ground tent every single night. So he's been a real champ about it. But the reality is we both are craving a nice bed, craving being able to sit inside and, just be out of the elements a bit. And I personally think the only way I could travel for longer than 30 days, we've even said amongst ourselves, 4 weeks, that's our cutoff for the duration of a trip, because it is too long. It's too long because it's work. It's not a holiday for us. It's get out and film. We're making a show for you guys to enjoy. And as much as it's awesome to be out here, and it's really such a privilege to travel and things like that, it's tiring and it's a lot of work. And the work only begins for me. We spend 4 weeks, 5 weeks traveling and filming, and I still then have to go home, and it takes me about a week per episode. So on a trip like this, if we make 10 to 15 episodes, that's 10 to 15 weeks of editing. So, it does become a lot. And it would be nice to have a setup that we could maybe travel a bit slower, spend more time in places, be able to work on the episodes as I kind of go and things like that. And unfortunately, the way this vehicle is set up doesn't really work for that for me. I would need something where I could sit inside the vehicle or in a little caravan or out of the elements, where I could actually sit and work for an extended period of time. And that is something that we've been struggling with kind of, to do on this trip. It's fine to lie in the rooftop tent for a little bit and back up the photos and maybe edit a few pictures, but to edit videos is a very intensive process, and it takes a lot of time and a lot of energy to actually do. So it gives me a lot to think about when I go on a big trip like this, because I think about the future of the channel. I think about how I can make better content. I think of how I can make more content, things like that. And it does kind of push you into a space where you've got to consider, are these things, is the setup appropriate for my needs? There's a line to be drawn between building a vehicle that you guys like and that you guys can enjoy, and that is much more approachable for you as a bike, going overlanding and going on a holiday and something like that, versus what I need as a content creator might be slightly different, because I might need certain luxuries and comforts that allow me to be able to work while I'm traveling, not just have a holiday where you go away for a week and you've got your bare essentials and you just live and thrive in that. That's fantastic for a week, but for a month it starts to get on you a little bit. You start to go, wow, I wish I could just go and have a hot shower quicker. I wish I could just sit down at my computer and just work for an hour or two. Whereas now we're currently so controlled by the elements, we're so controlled by our environment. We can't escape from the environment in a way of like, okay, it's 33 degrees right now, it is really hot. I can't go and sit in my air-conditioned vehicle and go and work for 3 hours until sun starts to set. You've really got to be on it all the time, and you've got to be kind of paying attention to everything all the time. So it has gotten to a point where it is a little bit, I don't want this to be a moaning sesh, but there is just a reality of what we have been doing for the past month, and it has been amazing, absolutely amazing, but it has been hard. It has been, I don't want to just show you all the good stuff. We like, not struggling to enjoy everything right now, but it's different. We've seen such amazing things that you sit down at places like this and you go, wow, this is beautiful. Oh, it reminds me of X, Y, and Z, or oh, this would have been nice at so and so, or this would have been. So it's a lot of comparison going on because we've experienced so much in this trip. Whereas there's this excitement when you go away for a while, when you're away from travel for a while, you're sitting at home for a while, and you go out for the first time in months, and every little tree you see is exciting, every little animal you see is exciting, every single part of the process is exciting and wonderful. And then the longer you stay out, the more you sort of expect things, and the more you sort of like adapt to that environment. So I think we got into that point a little bit now where we look at stuff and go, that's a cool mountain range, but it's not as cool as the mountain range when we were there. So I think there's also, in terms of keeping the trip short enough that it is enjoyable completely and exciting the whole time, and then actually when it starts to dip, we actually either go and book in at a B&B or something for a week in a town and just get, just relax and recharge, and then we can continue maybe for another couple of weeks, or we literally go home, defizz, work on the videos, work on everything, and then kind of come back and travel again for another 4 weeks. That is the kind of thing, the way I kind of see things going. The alternative thing is obviously to travel really slowly, break things up into 4 or 5 day trips, and then you have a base camp, and then you kind of travel out from that base camp. But then that means being away from home for months, and then that's really difficult,
pets, parents, friends, family, all of that stuff is, still important in life. It's not just because you have the opportunity to travel doesn't mean you pack all of those valuable things away in a box and ignore them completely. You still have a normal life back home. So it is one of those things where to find that little bit of a balance is tricky, because there's big gaps in my life, waiting for money to come together, waiting to plan the next trip, and then it kind of leaves the content a little bit starved for you guys for a while. So there's a lot of thinking to kind of do about it. At the end of the day, ROAM Overlanding is my life at this point in time. It's everything. I wake up in the morning and I think about it. I go to bed at night, I think about it. I'm out here traveling and living it every day. When I'm at home, I'm editing and I'm doing it. I'm in workshops, I'm talking to sponsors, and it's my full life commitment. So it's difficult, very difficult. It's not very financially rewarding. So to keep everything afloat and to keep everything going and to do all of that stuff is tricky, and it comes down to a lot of passion. And when that passion starts to kind of waver a little bit, it becomes very difficult to do everything all at once. So it is one of those things just to be a little bit realistic about it sometimes. So I don't know, maybe I'll make some tweaks to the vehicle to try and make it better. Maybe we'll make some tweaks to how we make the show to try and make it better. But this has been a fantastic experience so far. We've still got a bit to go before we get home. But I think both Annie and I are looking forward to getting home at this point and, just kind of settling into normal routine for just a little bit before we get out on our next adventures. But yeah, just thought I'd give you a little bit of insight into what's going on in my mind a little bit. Out here on the Orange River in the Richtersveld. This episode might not even go anywhere. Might just be for the Patreon members, just to get a bit of an update on the mental status. But it was good to chat. We'll see you on the next adventure.